Okay, so now, full disclosure, I want everybody, if you're watching my videos, I want you to know, before I make any of these videos, I actually do research on the particular topic that I'm about to talk about on YouTube and just see what everybody else is talking about before I come in and drop in my 2 cents, Dr. Business. And just to be honest, let's just do this. Have we all watched Men in Black, Will Smith with the pen? If you watched any of that BS as it pertains to this particular topic, should you carry a balance in your revolving accounts, I want you to look at this pen right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here.
And I want you to forget everything that you've learned, because majority of the information that I've seen on YouTube is just misunderstood. Number one, a bunch of people just regurgitating something that they've learned, an article that they've read, and they're not really giving specifics, and they're not really presenting this in real life. So that's what we're going to do here today. We're going to make a video as to, should you carry a balance on your revolving accounts, okay? Before we get started, if you don't know who I am, my name is Brian Otieno, again, Dr. Business. And what do? I help entrepreneurs just like yourself navigate the complexity of starting their dream business so they can get off the self-endless, defeating, pointless rat race that they're currently in, and they can take charge of their life through business ownership. Here we talk about all the things that are important as far as entrepreneurs, credit being one of them, funding, and a few other topics as it pertains to finance. So anyway, let's get started on this video. Let's talk about, should you carry a balance on your revolving accounts, and most importantly, why and how should you manage this particular thing as it pertains to balance. Let's get started. So now, I'm glad you can join me today. Again, interesting topic, and I want to kind of clear off any misconception, because there's plenty out there. And any of YouTubers that have made a video on this particular topic, and I'm going against what you have said, please comment below, challenge me on what I'm about to say. The number one myth that I want to kind of just get rid of is these people out there that are saying, go ahead, use your credit cards, go ahead and go home, call the number, pay off the balance. Don't want to carry an interest rate ever again. So let's talk about how inaccurate this is as it pertains to managing your credit. All these answers are focused on managing your credit and getting you to that 800, 850 credit score. That's where you need to be as an entrepreneur, even if you're not an entrepreneur. Now, the reason why this is wrong is number one, there's such a thing called payment history. Your credit bureaus and creditors report once every single month on a specific date. Okay, we're going to talk about that here in just a second. When you go out there and you spend all money today, and you just go and 2-3 days later you pay off that balance, a statement hasn't even been generated with that credit issuer. That's number one. And if they don't generate a statement, and by the time you pay off that balance, a statement comes out, it's just going to show you had zero balance. Okay, that's number two as it pertains to the credit bureaus. The credit bureaus only report a payment once every 30 days. So when every single month that a statement is being sent to them that you have a zero balance, is not registering any payment that's been made, because a statement hasn't been generated for you to actually make a payment. Once the statement is generated is when you can actually make a payment. So that's number one. And this ties into managing 35% of your FICO score, which is payment history. You have to wait, and this is kind of killing the myth, and I understand the reason behind this. The thought process is they don't want to pay interest, and I get it, but there's ways to do it without using the card, 2-3 days later paying it off, okay? And the way to do it is you have to wait until that statement is generated and information is sent to the credit bureaus. There's going to be a later video that I talk about when do credit bureaus report and when do creditors actually report to the credit bureaus. That's not on today's topic. But I want you to understand, when you're paying it off 2 or 3 days later, a statement is not generated with your card issuer. And as far as their payment history that they're going to be reporting to the credit bureaus, it's going to always show a zero balance, like that account is not being used. Why is that a problem? When you have an account that is not being used, you're putting yourself at risk where the lender or the credit card issuer might lower your limit because of inactivity, as they call it, or they might actually close their account due to inactivity. And you do not want your revolving accounts closed. Why? 30% of your credit score and even up to 80% of your credit score is based on your revolving accounts or your revolving accounts alone. So again, Hopefully that makes sense. When you use your credit card, pay it off 2 or 3 days later without that history being generated, it doesn't make any sense. You're not benefiting from that as you should, okay? Now, the second myth that I want to kind of kill is the people that talk about that you need to maintain a balance on your revolving account in order for you to have a high credit score. Again, they do not understand how this system works. So, let's talk about it. Why is it not required for you to maintain a balance in order for you to have a high score? So, let me kind of explain my reasoning behind why these people think that. Some people think that once they have a balance, and they're making payments every single month, lenders want them to have a high balance in order for them to get higher limits, it's just a myth. You do not, and I repeat, you do not need to maintain a balance and pay interest in order for you to have a high credit score, okay? That's just a myth that is out there. What you do need to understand is you must, as I said earlier, you must wait for your account and statement to be generated by your card issuer and reported to the credit bureaus. Once that statement is generated, feel free to pay the full balance if you wish, if you don't want to pay any interest. Now again, if you do want to maintain a balance on that revolving account, you go back to Brian's rules as a maintaining to managing 30% of your FICO score, the 30-50 rule. 30% or less when you're seeking financing, and 50% or more when you're not seeking financing. Why? And I'm going to touch on that here even a little bit further. There's one thing that's important when it comes to revolving accounts, which is highest past balance. I mentioned this on my video on how to manage your credit, the Brian's rules of how to manage your credit. And this is one of the reasons why these people think that it's important for you to maintain a balance all along to multiple months without paying it off, and it's going to benefit you as far as having a high credit score. And it's just a misunderstanding. What they're referring to is the high pass balance, but the thing is once that high pass balance is reported, when the statement is generated and sent to the credit issuer, at that point the high pass balance is there. So once you pay it off, it will always be registered that you had that high pass balance. So that's kind of the myth that I wanted to kind of clarify. So number one, the fact that people are saying, use your credit cards, go home, pay them 2 or 3 days later, you're doing yourself no good. There's no payment history being reported to the credit bureaus. There's no high pass balance being reported on your credit report that's going to show proof that you've had a high balance before you paid it down. The second myth that I wanted to kill, and then also lastly, by you doing so, by you always having a zero balance on your revolving accounts, you're putting yourself at risk where your revolving accounts, they might lower your limit due to lack of activity, or they might close the account due to lack of activity. Because what's being reported on the credit bureaus every single month when you do that is a zero balance, is a zero balance, is a zero high pass balance. How are you going to have higher limit credit cards if you always have zero balance? You're not utilizing your credit is what it looks like. How are you going to have a higher limit revolving account if your high pass balance stays at zero? Okay? And the second myth that I wanted to kind of clarify is the people that think that you have to maintain a balance on your revolving accounts in order for you to have a high score. That is inaccurate. You do not have to pay interest in order for you to have a high score. You want to wait until a statement is generated and reported to the creditors, to the credit bureaus. And once your creditor, your card issuer, reports that balance to the credit bureaus, at that point is when you're free to go ahead and pay off that balance if you choose so. And if you do maintain a balance on that revolving accounts, I want you to make sure you follow my rules. 50-30 rule. If you haven't watched that video, watch that video. There's another video that's a video that I talk about Brian's rules as it pertains to maintaining your credit. Anyway, I'm glad you can join me today. If you learned something, please drop me a like. Subscribe to the channel, and if you forgot, we have one of the best entrepreneurs incubators in the country. We help entrepreneurs just like you solve the complexity of starting their dream business. I mean, in today's world, it's almost like rocket science to start a business. I mean, you gotta incorporate, you gotta get your EIN number, you gotta get a merchant account, you gotta get a bank account, you gotta get a website, you gotta get a logo, you gotta have a marketing strategy, you gotta come up with your projections, you gotta get funding. You got to get a business credit building profile, Dun and Bradstreet number. There's all these things that most entrepreneurs don't know. okay? And it takes them years. It took me years before I figured out how to do these things. Our Entrepreneur Incubator Program gets all of this set up for you within a month, within a 4-week period. So definitely check out the link below. We have a free training that discusses the Entrepreneur Incubator Program. It's something that is definitely necessary for you if you're starting to be, if you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, or if you're a part of the 85% of Americans that hate their job. Wow. Every time I say that number, it just tickles my brain. 85% of Americans hate their job, okay? And actually, there's a 20% increase in risk of you having a heart attack on Monday morning. Just think about that. Literally, people are hate their jobs to death. People are dying. Jobs are killing people. So if you're an entrepreneur out there, and if you're not happy with your job, but you have a great business idea and you're very passionate about what you do, I always say this: passion plus execution equals results. Get in touch with us. Watch the training below. Get in touch with us. We're going to go ahead and take your passion, include our execution, and that's going to equal the results that you're looking for. Thank you for joining me today. Hopefully I was able to clarify all these myths that you've heard out there. I'll see you in the next video.